gets tough. And you said what was the second word?
Grit.
Grit.
Yes.
Um, I don't know if I know how to answer that one, but
What does it mean to you? Like, just like if I said, hey, that guy, Bryce got some grit about him, what would that mean to you? What would you hear that as?
mm,
And if you never heard the term, you never heard the term. It's cool.
yeah, honestly, I'm gonna sound really dumb, but I don't think I
Huh.
understand what grit is.
It's cool. The first time I heard it, there was an award that was given out at an award ceremony, and I asked, what does that mean? Swear to God. I'm not gonna
Okay.
lie. Okay. If I hear stuff I don't know, I just be like, well, what's that mean? So grit, all right, is we can go to the Webster's dictionary if anybody wants to, but I'm gonna give you my my definition. Your ability to figure stuff out. Okay. Like you're not afraid to get dirty. You're not afraid, you're not above things. Does that make sense? Like I'm going to get dirty in order to get the job done. I don't need to stay
Got
pretty
it.
and clean and do it all the best. No, I just, dude, I got three, I got kids to take care of. I just got to figure it out. Does that make sense? Like I don't really
Mhm.
know how it works, but I'm gonna work it out. So that's grit. All right. And that's what I've
Okay.
seen. That's what I've seen from you, right? So can you walk us through, right? I guess some of the hard things you've had to change, okay? But also you're still selling 20 plus $1,000 a month, okay? Which at your comp, $20,000 consistently, you're going to be at 100 plus compensation in no time. Do you know what I mean? And what that does to your income as well, okay? But what does that look like for you? What were some of the hard things, all right, that you had to get over, you had to change, that you're still working on, all right, in order to stay consistent? All right. Because when you sell 21,000 in issue pay in 3 months in your fourth or fifth month, you probably had $5,000, $10,000 of chargebacks, which mean that you sold 30 plus $1,000, I bet. Makes sense? And you dealt with the chargeback and you dealt with all that. All right. Walk us through that. I know it's pretty vague or whatnot. I got you on the spot, but let's just have a conversation. Okay.
Yeah, so month three, which was last month, was probably the hardest, most challenging for me, which I ended up essentially making more than I did the first 2 months.
Mm.
But if you would have asked me how the month was going or how was it, I would have told you that it sucked. It was really hard, and I think it all stems in mindset. The most challenging thing is not allowing the setbacks or the hangups or the cuss outs to set you back. So it's just like the mindset of like, okay, this is just part of it. That just means, we're just got to push through all the crap just to get, to get where we need to get going. And so I think that's the hardest part for me is just maintaining that mindset and reminding myself. And I do it by taking a step back. So if I'm getting a little bit too in my head or in my way, then I will take 20 minutes or 40 minutes to go take a bath or whatever to recharge myself, because if I don't do that and I just push through, then it starts reflecting into my clients. Now they can hear it in my tone. They can tell that I'm moody, maybe I respond differently than I would have if I was in a clear mind, which it's crazy how it works. Every time I've taken like 20 minutes to recharge, I'll come back and sell a $4,000 or $5,000 policy. Whereas before I took that, I mean, I was literally like, okay, that's it. Today's the day I'm going to quit. But it just took 20 minutes for me to like just recharge myself. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I think the
No,
biggest
this
thing
is
is
good.
mindset.
No, I like the way you just said today's the day I'm going to quit. Let's talk about that a little bit, okay? Because, God, on the way, somebody thinks, man, dude, you said like, what'd you issue pay last month? What was it? I know we got a few days left.
I think it was 22,
Like 22 grand, okay?
22. Yeah.
All right, so like 22 grand. And for somebody to go, damn, you thought about quitting during that month? Like, you know what I mean? Like you had negative thoughts about yourself during that month. Like things weren't just great during that month. Walk us through that because folks want to get to 20K, but they know what comes with this business in general that is going to allow. Now you go, man, my result was the better than it ever been. But to get there, it was like probably the worst month. How do those things go hand in hand?
I think that's the biggest misconception is people like to think like the other day somebody asked me, they saw one of my posts and they responded, is it easy?
Mm.
Well, yeah, it is easy if you apply yourself and if you're willing to it's not easy, but it's easy. It's easy if you put your mind to something and you know that you're going to do it regardless of what it takes. And the actual life insurance is easy. Selling life insurance is easy, right? But what's your mindset at? Like, what are you willing to apply yourself? Do you think you're going to get into this and then you're just going to sit back and all the money is going to fall in your lap? Like, when you ask if it's easy, that's what I think of, like just money falling into my lap. So when people say it's easy, it is easy if you're going to apply yourself, you're going to wake up, you're going to put goals in place and then follow them. But if you're not, then no. I mean, it's not easy because it's not going to fall into your lap. But I even called Zach at one point, or I think I text Zach something because I mean, last month I'm telling you, I questioned myself, like, oh my goodness, like I wasn't getting pickups. Like I was doing 400, 500, 600, $700 a day. Like I'm just like, okay. I kept telling myself like, girl, you ain't quitting. Like just shut up and quit being a crybaby. And so I throw my little tantrum and then I would go back and it's insane that I sold my biggest week. I think on the portal it says like 16,000 or
Yeah.
something like that in 1 week. And I mean, I'm telling you, I was like, I don't know. I think this month is like, I didn't even meet my goals. I'm going down. I didn't even make what I made last month. And so I tend to forget that it can change in 1 day or 1 week, or you can start out rough the first 2 weeks. But if you just keep pushing through and remind yourself, like the affirmations say, like, right, like the leads work. I always tell one of my things I always tell myself is there is thousands of dollars in my leads. Like I just have to keep pushing through and keep calling him to find that thousands of dollars. Like there's thousands of dollars in my current leads now. So I just remind myself, like, there's thousands of dollars in there. Your clients are in there. You just haven't contacted them yet. Like you haven't connected with them yet. So keep calling them because I have thousands. I mean, I've got 500 something leads in there. So you're crazy to think there's not thousands of dollars in your leads. But we miss out on those thousands of dollars when we allow ourselves to think there's no money in our leads. The leads don't work. The leads suck. People are never going to pick up, which sometimes they don't, but somehow manage to get through, like call. And I'll make jokes with like Zach or um, a couple other agents. And for me, I think what keeps me going too is like I tend to get down on myself and think I suck or I'm not good enough or I'm not there. And then I'll have an agent randomly reach out to me and be like, hey, like I need help. And then they tell me how much I helped them. And I'm like, okay, if I'm able to help out those other people, then I just need to see more value in myself and see that obviously I'm doing something right. If people admire me enough to think that I can help them in their business. And so that was kind of what helped me I think it was this week or last week. Somebody reached out and had asked, actually I had like 3 people reach out. So for me, that's huge. Like to be able to help somebody else reminds me that you can do this and anybody can really do it. It's just how strong are you mentally? Because mindset is everything.
Wow. The You were in sales previously, okay? You've always grinded. Fair to say? Like you've never
Mm-hmm.
been one to just sit back and say, "Hey, pay me every 2 weeks for like minimum wage." Does that ever like you always try you like I'm trying to get some more, okay?
Yeah, I've always been that way.
Now, when you say things can change, right? Has that always been the truth in your life of like things can change in a week or a day or do you know what I mean? Like, is this business different as it pertains to how fast things can happen for you historically?
I think it's always been that way for me in a sense of, so I've been on my own since I was 15. I've had a rough upbringing. So for me, it's always been a fight. If something was going to happen, I'm the one that had to make it happen. If something was going to change in my situation, regardless of who was at fault of that. I was going to be the one that had to make it change. And so, in a sense of yes, it's always been that way where it can just change in a day or instance or a minute, whether it's negative or positively. But in the life insurance business, I think that change looks different. So in the quantity or the amount, like it just looks different in many different ways. So like you've always actually in the beginning, you're like, look at it as a like an interest-free loan, like don't let the chargebacks get to you. And last month was like it hurt. And at first I was like, it's easy for this mother effer to say like the charge, like it's just look at them as, but then there was a particular chargeback or a particular cell that I pushed through all the objections, and it ended up being well, I'll just say what it was, $2,800 that I got deposited in my bank. And they called 2 days later and they canceled. Well, at first I was kind of like, damn, like F me, like, damn, that sucks. But I actually talked to Zach about it. And that $2,800, like if I wouldn't have got deposited at $2,800, my kids wouldn't have eaten. Like, and that's like real talk. Like, so it made me appreciate it better. Like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to keep selling. Like, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to get better. So that chargeback was just an interest-free loan. I'm going to pay it back because I'm going to keep selling. It was a blessing because I needed it. And I learned a lot from the entire situation, and the fact that it was a couple that I sold. I went through every objection possible. I got them to the finish line and they still ended up canceling the policy. But if I wouldn't have gotten through all of that, I wouldn't have been able to feed my kids. And so it made me look at chargebacks and like just pushing through objections in a totally different light and not think of them so negatively, because it really is an interest-free loan. Like I got $50,000 worth of debt I'm trying to keep up with. So I'll take interest-free loans all day long. But I just had to see it differently, like, than if, I know I would go to you, you'd be like, you need that. Like, it's fine. And then I'd be like, okay, it's easy for you to say that. Like in my brain, I was just looking at it as like money owed. But then when I appreciated it differently, okay, I need that money to keep my business going and to be able to feed my kids and to be able to keep learning and growing. That's when it just hit different. So I don't take the charge, like chargebacks are always going to hurt, especially when it's your third month in. You were flying by the first 2 months. But Corinne said something about like if you have to have setbacks and you have to fail in order to be a great agent. She's like, so last month, like I was really feeling it, even though it didn't look like in the grand scheme of things, like I did bad, but like, I mean, it was a struggle. Every cell was a struggle, getting up every day, dialing every day, like days without selling. Like it was really, really tough. Like I'm telling you, I thought about 25,000 times I was going to quit. And somebody would be like, girl, you ain't quitting. Like, just, we all said that, like, just keep going. We'll talk tomorrow.
I'll
And
talk to you
then I go
tomorrow.
sell something. And then now I'm like, okay, I was never going to quit. Just kidding. But, but it's all part of it. And as long as you don't dwell on the quitting, you're not going to quit. Like, it's just a feeling in that moment. It's just temporary. And it's just part of the process. And so I have to remind myself, like, girl, this is just part of the process. Like, remind yourself how many other crap you've gone through that you pushed through, like that ex, like how many chances you gave him. Like if you give up on your business, like you a fool, because you gave him 14 years of chances. So you better keep pushing through this life insurance stuff. And so that's kind of what got me through last month. And a lot of people think it was easy, like what is she talking about? It wasn't hard, but if you would have saw on the outside, like it was hard. Like there was lots of tears. And one of the other top selling agents, she told one of the agents, because I think they were not sure what they were getting into. And she told one of the agents, like, did you really think you were going to get in this and not cry? And they were like, well, yeah, I just thought it was just going to be easy. She's like, then you're in the wrong business. And she's like, I make like 50 plus thousand a month, or like I sell 50 plus thousand a month. And she's like, girl, I cry all the time. I cry at least once a week. She's like, you're gonna cry sometimes. She's like, cry it out and then get back at it. Like you're just gonna happen. If you think that every day is gonna be easy, then you're in the wrong business. And I don't know if I answered your question. I tend to randomly
No,
No,
ramble
that
no, that
on,
was
so I'm
was
so sorry.
probably the
that was the best that I've ever heard, the best perspective I've ever heard on chargebacks. Like we need to clip how she just viewed her chargeback and her perspective on it and send that to anybody that ever says anything about chargebacks. I've never heard it articulated that good before. Like I just like, dude, deal with it. Sell more and you'll get out of it. You know what I mean? The perspective that you just gave on that was so huge.
And that's literally what Don told me. Is like, just sell more, it'll be fine. And I was like, okay, I love you, Don, but that doesn't register for me. So it wasn't until I like
That's why
I looked at
we
it
need people like
differently.
you. We need people like you to help us. Like you think about it differently.
I was like, I get it. But after I was like, okay, I get what he's trying to say. This is what he means. So I just had to see it for myself because I was cussing Dom out secretly. He just didn't know it. I was like,
Hey, you know what's great about that piece? You almost a lot of that stuff you don't really understand until you go through it, right? Like you hear people go, leads a lead, right? And you're like, nah, dude, I got leads that are like this old. You're calling leads that are like, dude. But when you start really, really getting into it, you start realizing, dude, a lead is a lead. It doesn't really matter, you know. But you gotta see yourself there. All right. Now that that loan, right, that we're talking about, okay? Who on here wouldn't say if I was like, hey, here's $10,000, okay? Do whatever you need to do with it. I just need $10,000 back in 30 days. Can you figure like, and y'all can't figure out how to use your license and make more money, pay your bills? I'm just giving you an example of like, who wouldn't take an interest-free loan if it was banked on you going to work? We take loans that are banked on the bank looking at our credit score and say yes to that. Some of y'all's credit cards interest rates, I'd be like, why do you even swipe that? Does that make sense? Like that's insane that you committed to that. But you won't commit to your own self and believe like, and when you put it like that, it's like, oh God, I remember Sean told me. He goes, dude, it's an interest-free loan with the insurance company. Okay. You'd never be able to go get loans this size. Don't spend all your money. Spend it on things that you know you can get a return on. All right. And pay your bills and stuff. I was like, damn. He goes, so it's not your, what happened with me, Lacey? I said, they keep taking my money. That's what happened. I said that to him. I said, bro, they keep taking my money. I ain't got none. He goes, oh God, you think it's yours. That's okay. Sit down. You know what I mean? Then he educated me on how it wasn't mine, how it was a loan, how, you know, would I ever be able to have that much? Would anybody give me that much money just if? No. I mean, quickly, I was like, dude, just go out there and sell, you know, and you will get better. All right. And the time period that you just talked about. See, your emotional stability is so big in this business, and a lot of your emotional stability can be corrected by a deposit. I know money ain't everything, but a lot of us are down because we can't do something or we feel like things are getting tight. And if that deposit, whether it chargebacks or not, that's why it's just like, you know what? And you get all down. It's like, no, who cares? I'd rather owe the insurance company than not pay my SDG&E because I can work and pay back the insurance company. My kids, they can't go without lights for 3 or 4 days. That way, I guess they could, but like I'm kind of over the caveman days. Make sense? Like I'm not, they're not gonna die if they can't shower for 3 days. Like it's okay, but like I'd want them to. So like I'd rather bank on that. So think about that when you guys are when you're building this and when you're thinking about the tough times or you're thinking about that money that just is. You look at your Americo and you're like, oh, it's negative 2,500. So what? So what? Is your Wells Fargo personal account negative 2,500? No? Well then, dude, use that money. Let's make some money.
the way I look at those two now is okay, cool. Now, like, there's a way. So I can either think of, like, oh, fuck, I owe this money and, like, just pity myself. But the way I think of it is like, okay, there's a way to do it and I'm going to figure out how I'm going to get it. Now it just means I've got to sell more. And really, it's like, for me, it's like, okay, that's one policy. Maybe that's two policies. Like, that just pushes me to sell more. So I just look at it as like, everything I've started to look at is like there's a way to do it. I just got to figure it out. Like even getting into the life insurance business for me is like I was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, almost getting abducted, like very dangerous things happening, crying daily, like crying while there's people in my car because I was so exhausted. And so I knew like, okay, there is a better way. Like this is not my life. This is temporary. This isn't going to be forever. So I have to figure it out. Like there's something else out there and I've got to figure out what it is and I'm going to do it and I'm going to figure out how to do it. And so that's like how I got into the life insurance business. And I've just kept that mentality the entire time. Like there's a way and I'm going to figure it out. And if all these other agents are top selling agents, like I can be there too. And I'm going to be there and I'm just going to figure out how. But sometimes I just got to step back a minute and be like, okay, Lacey, you're like 4 months in the business. Like you can't expect to be at the top of the ladder with them. Like just keep pushing through and running the process and you'll get there.
What's your goal? Like, where do you want to be in July? Where are you going to be at?
I want to be at 40,000 for the month. I am a little bit behind. Unfortunately, I got sick the last 3 days, and so it set me back a little bit. But the cool thing, and what I reminded myself this morning, is that it can change in a week, and so I can literally make 1 month's worth in a week, and or I can make a week in a day. Like it can change. So I have to remind myself that I'm really good at building that value and getting quality deals. And so I've tried to stop focusing on selling like 3 or 4, 5, 6 people out of one thing and just making sure that I work it to the bone and find that quality, because I know that I can do that. And so I just remind myself that you can make 1 week and 1 day. And I just remind myself of where I was with Uber, and I was making $4,500 to $6,000 a month, overexerting myself, health, like super sick because I was so stressed out and like it was a mess. And so I just remind myself that I can make 1 month of Uber in 1 day.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. But you can be at the top. Don't doubt yourself. All right.
Yeah.
You can be at the top.
I'm going to be.
You can be at the top sooner than maybe you think. All right. And it's really an equation. It's leads, work ethic, and compounding with getting better. I mean, you can't lose. All right. So sit tight. All right. Stay close. All right. I'm going to open it up for questions here in a minute, but I want to ask Zach something kind of different. Because consistency, grit is what I see with you, but then I see Zach and I'm like, well, always, I think you wanted to sell initially, okay? Wanted to sell, wanted to figure this thing out from a personal standpoint. But something changed when you started working with agents and helping agents get licensed, script, training, all that type of stuff. Something changed just overall with you, okay? Can you talk to us about what that was, and do you encourage the hiring or whatever it is? Like, because I want to, but I see it, but I can't really, I don't know exactly what it is. So
I don't have any kids, right? But I know that I watched my dad, you know what I mean? And, Cam watches you. So, and I'm not calling agents that I work with like my kids or nothing, but there's always people kind of watching you and you kind of want to set a standard. And it's easier to follow and easier to tell people things that they should do when you're leading from a position of being a high volume seller, being, hitting 20K, 30K a month. And in order for me to, really build this thing out, have people really listen to what I'm saying. And for myself, I feel as though, I can't lollygag or lead from being in the middle. I got to be towards the top because I know people are watching. And when I tell people like it will work or it will do this, if I'm only doing 10, 15,000 a month, it's like, what's this guy do? You know what I mean? Versus if you're hitting a certain number per month or if you're a high volume producer and you understand things, I feel as though people will kind of listen to you and you can lead from the front and it'll make the team a lot better. So that's kind of what it's been for me. In the same way I looked at my dad, I looked up to people. I watched you when you were talking to people. It's like there's a certain element that once you start to hit those things, it kind of takes care of itself.
Was there some type of belief in there? Did you always believe that other people could do this or that you could help people do it? Like, is that did that grow over time, or like what is that belief level as it pertains to you, not just you doing it, but other people doing it?
Well, first I had to believe in myself. I was always like, I knew it was possible to do it. I watched you do it for 14 years and I watched where you got from it. But then I had to believe in myself that at 38 and working in one field for the last umpteen years and doing acting, that I could kind of build up a new callus, and once I started to really lock in and realize that, like, all right, bro, this is it. Like, I'm not going back to school. I'm not changing any career. Like, this is going to be the vehicle that allows me to finally, you know, do everything else that I wanted to do. And then once people started to like ask me questions, not even direct to me, but just other people ask me questions, and I'd seen them like take that advice, and it actually started working for them. And I'm like, oh, I started to get more belief that what I was saying was actually, it actually worked. Like even in the Zoom, people asking questions that I don't even know who they are, and me answering the question and it being the right answer, or telling people say this, and then seeing them say that, and then it kind of like trickling down to like, okay, well, she's looking at this or this, basically this is like they need mortgage protection, so say this, and then actually seeing like agents say that and then continue the conversation on and get further in the script. I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing, and I know I can coach people, and I know I'm helping people, and it's a skill set that I have a coachable skill set that I can help other people become high volume producers and even outdo what I'm doing.
Right. That's who that last part. They can be better than me. When you hire from a place to where you're okay with folks doing more than what you're doing, right? Doesn't mean don't do anything. But there's some folks, you see guys who sell 50, 60, $70,000 a month, and dude, they can't teach nobody. They don't have any team. And it's like, why doesn't anybody on your team make money like you? You make money. Well, I just want them, like, dude, no, you give them all the excuses in the world. Makes sense. Like, you feel like what you're doing is special, and what they're doing, they can't do it. Do you know what I mean? You never want that. You always want a team of folks that go, dude, I can do exactly what that guy or girl's doing. Why? Because, dude, they just do this, nothing special about it. So what I'm gonna ask you, why do they buy? Why don't they buy in this? Like, what have you discovered? Don't give me no macro, like what salespeople say. What have you seen? Why do clients buy from you? Why don't they buy from you?
I think the ones that end up buying from me, I can kind of tell by the way that it's going in the in the presentation, where I'm sitting back asking questions, they're elaborating, kind of going on, but it's a trust thing. I feel like within that first 15 to 20 seconds, with oh yeah, let me go grab that, in the conversations that we're having, I'm like, okay, this is fun. If I'm fighting it the whole time, sometimes you can make a sale, but then like what Lacey was saying, it's usually going to charge back. But most of the time they're buying you, but they're also buying the insurance. And I think it's just, I've noticed with myself, when I connect with a client on the phone and I find a common ground, and then when I really explain everything that this policy is going to do for the person or do for their family, and that I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be the person that's going to help them, receive that check. If they have any questions, they can directly call me. That's when I realized it was like, or going to be sales. And then I noticed I don't sell a lot when I can't really figure out questions to ask, or if it's kind of just deadpan and they're giving me short answers and I'm trying to get something out, and maybe I'll say like a little funny, like, oh, do you plan on start smoking? And they don't really, give me any little like, oh, and I'm just kind of fighting. And next thing you know, I'm quoting, and it's only been 9 minutes into the conversation is when I've been noticing I'm going to get a lot of, I'm going to call you back. So, or, okay, well, thank you. I'm going to shop around.
Now, when you were starting, right? How did you it's like I love to hear you articulate. I just had to see that you got a view of your business now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before you could see that, right? Walk us through how that felt going through those things to discover that, like, oh wow, this is who I need to be. Like, because you weren't always that, right? Like,
right.
How did you start to figure out this is who I need to be? And this is a client that's with me. This is a client who's against me, and I know it's reps, right? Let's get that out of the way. Repetition is big, right? But let's get finite into, how did you recognize it? Where were those thoughts? Where were those doubts that you had? And then also, where'd that belief come from to step up and start being that person for these clients?
I think controlling the conversation, believing in what I'm selling, being more direct about, okay, here's what we're gonna do, Dominique, and leading that potential client to what's gonna be the best scenario and explaining it. I think, like you said, it comes with repetitions, but I think early on it was kind of more so worried about, okay, where am I at on the script? What's next? What are we going to do? Not being confident when I present the numbers. And then I learned a long time ago, and when I was personal training and I worked at a high-end gym, I worked at Equinox, and I was like, who the hell is going to pay $45 for a session? You know what I mean? Like one session for training. And one of my managers was like, you're thinking with your pocketbook. Don't think with your pocketbook. Think, you just say what it is. And then you sell a policy, a 48 pack of training sessions for $5,000. And it was like, wow, like, okay, people do actually buy, you know what I mean? And you just got to find the people that are ready and are looking for what the value in what it is that you're selling. And that goes across anything that you're selling. It's not even just so much insurance. It all becomes about the value. And so once I figured out that I need to really hit on the value, and obviously all the trainings, like I said, I'm 10 months in. There's people who have started way before, less than me, that I don't ever see in training. I don't really see on Zoom. I see them every now and then pop up, and it's like, one thing you told me a long time ago is treat this like you're like your new agent. Continue to keep learning and continue to get better. Even Andrew Taylor, like you said, who was going to be a guest today. So for a while, and when I wasn't really selling and I was just kind of like in my head and stuff, I found his podcast. He always has great guests on his podcast. And I started listening to his podcast every morning when I was working out, and he was bringing people in. And that's when I found out about, does it fit a need? Does it fit if it fits a need and it fits a budget? And like when you're dealing with objections, like, okay, well, we're just here to make sure that it fits a need and it fits your budget, and to fill out an application just to make sure you get approved. And I remember the day I listened to that podcast and the guy said that on there, and I had somebody say, well, I need to think about it. And I said, well, Dominique, if it fits a need and it fits a budget, my job is just to make sure that we can get you approved. And then obviously you have time to talk about that with your wife, just to make sure that you guys don't want to go up or down in coverage, not cancel it, but go up or down in coverage. And they were like, okay. And I was like, wow. And hearing stuff from podcasts and the training from Family First Life, and then instilling it like that day, it kind of it brought an extra value to me. And it really made me just decide, like, I could listen to music any day of the week, but when I'm working out, let me just use that hour while I'm working out to really just hear something that's going to help me later on in that day.
Dude, this is big. All right, so we got 15 minutes. All right, cool. I wrote down deflecting, right, and blame. Right? There's a lot of that when we start. And I don't care who you are. Nobody walks in this thing with an accountability on their chest, dude. Okay? Now, does that mean everybody bitch, moans, and complains and screams about it? No. But you also said when I was in my head. Okay? What were those things that were saying in your head? Okay? Leads, area, telesales, whatever it is, you know what I mean? We call it limiting beliefs as well, right? Because those kind of, but like deflecting the blame is what I like to say. Because I think the accountability, when you start to really be accountable, that's when you start to grow. Okay? So, and when you're in your head, there's no way you're being accountable in your head. Does that make sense? When we're in our head, we're saying everything but, hey, dude, you suck. Make sense? So what were those things that were going on in your head? And when I say deflecting, blame, all that type of stuff, what is that? Does that mean anything to you?
I think overall it was just a confidence thing. I would talk to Red, I would just listen to Jason. And I'm really just like a student, and I hear what everybody is saying, and I pick and choose like certain things, like let me try that. And I think obviously just paying attention to hearing what other people are saying, and then try to incorporate things that they're doing into your presentation and how you're speaking to people. You'll start to find like your path. You start to find your script within the script. And I just think that early on, I was getting in my head, because I've always got in my head with certain things. Even in acting, I'd be like, I'm about to fuck this audition up. And the next thing you know, I can't remember my words. You know what I mean? And I wasn't being free. And I really realized that when I wasn't thinking and acting, and I would just go in there and just play and just however it happens, we're just gonna roll with it. I was having great auditions. So with me, it was more so like, okay, let's call this 32-year-old, even though mostly 30-year-olds hang up when I call, and just let's just play it out and let's just see what happens. And then next thing you know, a couple people started buying, and I think those limited beliefs started to kind of just fall back a little bit. And it was just through the work of like another thing. I used to feel weird about people between the ages of 80 and 85. I had like, what I'm saying, I would get in my head about they're gonna say it's too expensive. you know. But then I started seeing Jason posting $4,000 or $5,000 annual premiums, and I'm like, "Yo, how old was that person?" They're like, "Oh, they were 82," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like, I would see an 82-year-old and be like, "Nah, I don't, like maybe not even want to call them." Like, it maybe or just zoom through the presentation. Like, okay, let's get right to it. Do you are you, blah 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 blah?
You wanted to know, all right.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And then I realized it was like, I got to treat these 80-year-olds, the same that I'm treating the 65-year-old who needs insurance, because I probably cost myself a few big policies just thinking that they're going to be old and they're on a fixed income and they don't have no money.
Man. Thank you for articulating that. Because when I hear that, I'm like, man, like what are those things that were in my head? In our head. By the way, we all have the things that are in our head. I'm gonna leave these last 10 minutes, man. I want to open it up for questions for both of you for anybody. And if you guys have anything you want to share or whatnot, but I'm sure some folks have questions for you too.
Hey Dom, I just want to say something on the whole subject.
Yeah.
If everybody was in Sean Mike's meeting today, this is what I took out of his meeting. He actually said, if you could find a way to control your emotions, you're going to be dangerous in a good way. If you find a way to control your emotions, you're going to be dangerous in a good way. And that's kind of what we've been talking about. It's like, trying to get out of our heads, get out of our own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was huge.
A man or a woman.
The other thing that Sean said today that I think Zach and Lacey both just like, I was literally just thinking, I was like, man, that's like what Sean talked about today. He said one of the questions he asked on interviews is like, are you a fight or flight person?
Yeah.
Like when things get hard, do you fight or do you flight? I don't care either way. I'm not mad at you no matter what you say. But I just need to know, like, when stuff hits the fan, when you have some chargebacks, when this business gets hard, how are you going to respond? Clearly Lacey fights. You know what I mean? Like she very well articulated that. And obviously Zach has too. You know what I mean? Like, man, this like when you get in your own head, like that's a version of it getting hard. The deciding to switch up music for listening to podcasts in the hour of the day that you don't have anything like that, you're just working out. Dude, that's a fight. Like that's a real adjustment that obviously you saw results from that. A lot of people go the other way. You know what I mean? When it's like, all right, it's tough. Let me still get my workout in, but maybe let me start a little bit later. You know what I mean? Like you
this is my time. Like this is my time. I need to unplug from that stuff.
Yeah, I need to unplug. Exactly. Yeah. Like I need to not think about insurance for an hour. He's like, no, I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna get crazy focused on how I can get better for this hour. Which led to selling more insurance, which led to being more excited about showing up to the calls.
But what's always wasn't like that, Bryce.
These calls because they get smoked a little bit, then they're not as excited, and then they say, "I need some more time. I need to," like all good. Like we all need time. I get it, but when you decide to double down on getting better at your craft, dude, that's when you stop getting in your head about, I don't want to pick up the phones, or I don't want to we show up to this call every day fired up. You know what I mean? Because we're making things happen. You know what I mean? And so when you just continue to double down on getting better and getting better, results start to show up, and you get more excited about being here and doing what we do every day.
And it's crazy too, because I had like a 50-50 fight and flight. So for a while, if I was having a bad day on the phones and people were just kind of like, I guess today's not my day. So it'd be 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I would just stop. You know what I mean? And then so I was listening to podcasts, doing certain things, but I was like 50-50. Today's just not my day. And then when John came to our meeting and he was talking, and John started talking about, just making your dials and doing certain things, I kind of changed even, okay, it's a bad day. We're working till 6:30 today, 6:30, 7 o'clock, whether it's a bad day or good day, but we're gonna see what happens. And then when I started doing that, it'd be a bad day, bad day, bad day. Next thing you know, it'd be 6:30, last call of the day. In 2 days doing that, I sold a policy. And I remember I hit Dominique up and I was like, yo, I just unlocked a new dimension of like this business. And he was like, what are you saying? And I was like, I just realized that a bad day can turn into, oh shit, I worked all day. I finally got to sell at the end of the day and I still made $1,300. But like beforehand, I was just like, it's 3:30, 4 o'clock. Today's not my day.
I
I'm
remember
just
that.
gonna
I remember
reset.
like in your second and third month, we're like, all right, there goes Zach jumping off 5, like the job's over. You know what I mean?
And it
And
was like
then
it was
you're
a
like,
bad
shit, all right. You know what I mean? And then we
day.
decide to buckle down a little bit, like, oh damn, there's a lot of money to be made after 5. Crazy,
Right.
right? Yeah,
hmm
that's so true, dude.
Can I
So
speak
true.
on that real quick too, or kind of what you said about listening to podcasts and stuff? Be choosy on your breaks because a break can make or break you. And what I mean by that is like I also will listen to podcasts or something insurance related or just entrepreneur business related and mindset related. But the one time I chose to just watch Love Island instead because I was exhausted or drained out, then I ended up focusing on Love Island, feeling drained, watching binge watching Love Island, did not go back to work and got way off track. So be choosy on your breaks because a break can break you.
Yep. And then I started feeling bad because it'd be 5 o'clock, 5:30. I'd call today like, no, it's not working. And next thing you know, a couple WhatsApp messages came in, and I'm like, damn, people are still making money right now. And I called it quits.
People
I
on
stayed watching
what did
Love
it for
Island.
me is people on the East Coast. I'm like, shit, it's 9 o'clock and they're making sales. I called it today at 5:30. What am I doing?
And that's even what me and Bryce were kind of talking about before this meeting started. And I was like asking him questions about, trying to hire and trying to build a team, but still trying to be a high volume producer. And I was like, you know what? I got to get some more West Coast states. I was like, because that 5 to 8 p.m. I need to be calling Oregon, Washington, that whole trail right there. The whole.
Trail.
Huge.
He wanted to say Oregon Trail so bad.
I wanted to say, I was looking for the other word. There's like a trail that goes from California all the way up, but I can't from Mexico all the way up. But whatever, you get it.
Trail? I thought you meant
Missions?
Oregon Trail. I was like, damn, dude, you just
Yeah,
took me back to elementary school.
Yeah, the Oregon Trail though. Remember the little computer game?
Yeah.
Some of y'all too young for that. Y'all didn't
Definitely
grow up
too
with
young.
floppy disk.
Definitely.
Y'all didn't grow up with
Great
floppy
game.
disk. Y'all didn't know what a floppy disk is.
I've seen one.
I sure do.
I have a floppy disk of my child, of my first daughter. Her sonogram is on a floppy disk. Like seriously.
Yeah, you can tell who the older ones are versus the younger ones for sure.
Any other questions for these two? By the way, you guys did great, man. Very, very dynamic, very different, but very, very helpful. So sorry we didn't have to, but you are.
Zach, can you say again real quick if a customer says I need to think about it?
There's a couple different ways you can say. Of course, you need to think about it. I'm just here to make sure that you get approved so that you actually have something to think about. Now, the price, did it fit your need and did it fit your budget? And they're like, yeah, okay, well, great. We're just going to make sure you get approved. That way you and your wife can discuss because now you have something to think about. Right now, it's just a number on a paper. I don't even know if I could actually get that for you.
Great, thanks.
No problem. But asking the client if it fits their needs and it fits their budget kind of takes away a lot of those questions because if they say yes to both of those, then they feel kind of stupid saying they need to think about it.
Need and budget. Big stuff. Any other questions? We'll leave it open. I have a question that I feel everybody would want to know. All right. How much do y'all spend on leads?
So I kind of took Bryce's method on Sunday and make sure you do it early on Sunday because I don't like leads that come in the middle of the night. I feel like those are like the people on Ambien and they can't sleep, so they're just kind of just on their phone clicking on stuff. So I usually like to spend probably about $1,000 at the beginning of Sunday. And then I'll work those leads for 2 to 3 days. And then middle of the week, I like to either spend between like 300 to 600 so that I have leads for the rest of the week. You know what I mean? And then I'm still dialing old leads. And that once you do that for a few weeks, you just have a limitless of people to keep on trying to call.
There you go.
I have a question. So going back to what you just said, Zach, so when you get a lead at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, East Coast time, are you the Allstate man? Do you pick up the phone and call them right back? Because
If it's 10 p.m., no, I won't call them at 10 p.m. But I'll call them in the morning time. And then, sometimes you get a lead in at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're like, yo, it just came in, and don't be scared to tell somebody like, or, oh, I just got it. I just got insurance. But Darlene, you just filled out this request. So I'm assuming even if you did get insurance, you're not too excited or happy about the policy that you got, correct? Well, yeah, I was just kind of, wanted to see if there were, if I was in the best position possible. Okay, well, great. That's exactly the reason why I'm calling you.
I was just wondering if something comes in at a strange hour, should you really respond at that hour? Because
Well, there's no really point because sometimes if you can't write policies past a certain time on some of these applications anyways. Even if you were just trying to write an application, you can't write an application at 2 or 3 a.m. It's not going to work.
Is that true? I never knew that.
Yeah, that's true.
Americo?
Red, which company was it, Red?
Americo shuts down?
Oh, dude.
It was a miracle. I tried to run a lady at 1 a.m.
Yeah,
It's just the maintenance or something.
It's a maintenance thing, right? I'm gonna say that's not all the time. Yeah, right. We would
No,
never.
I think it closes. Like I think they don't allow
No.
submission after a certain time.
I feel like I would have heard that over 14 years. Like I feel like it's a maintenance thing overnight because how we blow them up.
Maybe, but I'm not up at 1 a.m.
Dude,
really.
I've done it. I'm not gonna lie. I've gotten
Oh,
back.
you have?
I've
I mean,
gotten
I
back to
would.
bars with my buddies.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm about to say, I know I've done
3 a.m.
it.
applications. So like, yes, I've done it.
Okay, so it must have been maintenance, but yeah, no, I probably wouldn't call somebody at 1 or 2 o'clock if it came in. I'd call them in the morning.
Here's the deal. All right. It's all personal, right? If I needed it, okay, and I'm up and I get a lead and it's 10:30 at night and they just filled it out and they tell me their beneficiary is Tom, I'm gonna call them up. Okay. Now, if you're like, I'm sleeping in bed, am I gonna get out of bed? No. But if I'm available, I know they just did it. This is not an accident. They just did it. So, hey, what's up, Tom? This is Dom. You just filled that request out for the insurance? I don't say, hey, I know it's late. I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. Does that make sense? And there's two people. If you don't care, they don't care. Okay? Straight up. So there's no rules that says that now you can't cold call people after certain hours of the day. But this is never a cold call. All right? So if they filled it out, for some reason, shoot, you could maybe in a different time zone. I was in Hawaii. You know what I mean? It could be 3, 4 in the morning over there, right? But it's 8 over there, right? I got the lead in. Do I wait until it's 8 my time? I don't give a damn. Like, no, let me just call him right now. Do I go, hey, it's 3 a.m. in Hawaii. You woke me up. No. I just handle it. Does that make sense? So it works both ways. All right. So I think just don't put limits on yourself. Do whatever it takes, And if you feel a little uncomfortable doing it, probably do it. It's probably the right thing. Make sense? It's probably the right thing to do. And some people go like, well, what's too late to be calling? Best advice I ever heard was when 2 people tell you, why are you calling me so late? But other than that, keep calling. Right? Now, I don't want to be dialing 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. But if I have to, that means I was slacking earlier in the day or whatnot. You know what I mean? Like these sacrifices don't really have to be sacrificed if we handle the start of the day appropriately. But sometimes I didn't handle the day appropriately, so I had to sacrifice different times, do different stuff. Make sense? Take different calls that I wouldn't have taken, Darlene, because I didn't do what I was supposed to earlier. I was messing around. And didn't, make sense? So when all things are lined up and you're doing things front loaded, you may not do those things. It's like when I was in the field, I didn't door knock. I didn't have to door knock a lot when I was booking quality appointments and booking appointments. But I found myself door knocking a lot when I messed around on dial day and didn't have enough appointments. So I'm out there door knocking, right? there's a lot of those parallels in this business of telesales too, that you'll find yourself doing stuff that, you know what, I'm doing this because I didn't. Oh yeah, you're sitting over there texting leads and doing this because you weren't crazy intentional with calling the leads. I get it, but you got to do what you got to do. So I think take that, like, don't just take, well, don't do it. No, every situation is different. Do what fits for you, what works for you, what you're willing to go out there and sacrifice. Okay. But don't any of that, don't think about the client. Notice I said nothing about the client. Make sense? All of this is about you. Don't think, is it too late, too early? None of that stuff matters. They don't care at all. All right. So good stuff today. I appreciate both of you guys. This will be recorded. This is recorded. Bryce, I'll get it to you, get it out on the on YouTube, and y'all drop some really good stuff. Really good stuff today. So thanks again, and appreciate Andrew Taylor for not showing up, because this was phenomenal. All right.
Thank
Peace
you.
out, you guys.
Bye.
Hey, whoever got release presentations, stay back.
Oh, there you go. Right on. And if yeah, anybody, and if you're unclear on when yours is, just stick around and try and see. All right. Thank you guys. Later.
Huh? What are they saying? Is he on the phone so I can call him? Oh, sorry, guys. I don't know.